It's a day for families. It's a day for marriages to be renewed. This is a day of love. This is what you're all about. So, Lord, let's start right here in this building right now. Let's start in this courtroom right now to love on each other, to love on one another, to renew vows of marriage and dignity, honesty, lack of corruption. Lord, we pray today for the school children. We pray for the leaders of the schools. We pray for the inmates in the jails. We pray, Lord, that they will see love, light, instead of darkness for their future. Lord, we ask you to guide the agenda this morning. We ask you to give wisdom to our commissioners and to our county judge. And we thank you, Lord, for what you're doing in bringing the rain that we need so desperately this weekend. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Happy Valentine's to you, Judge.
Thank you. Did anybody sign up for public comments? Okay, well, the best part of Commissioner's Court to me is when we have the opportunity to present a resolution to people in our community that exemplify what's great about Cameron County. Today we have a resolution recognizing the Reverend F. Filiberto Pereira for his outstanding citizenship, and I would ask him to come up. You know, we read every day about, what is happening with our country with respect to, all the issues that are presented before our nation, problems, in the cities, problems with crime, problems, with the economy, the things that happened with Katrina, and so on and so forth. And it's a nation that sometimes, we are concerned that things are not getting better. But at the end of the day, after we analyze everything that we have experienced, we all know that our country is the greatest country in the world, and it's a country that has provided leadership in ensuring that people all over the world have the freedom and the liberty and the justice that we enjoy as much as possible. And it's a country that in the whole scheme of, or the history of mankind is a very, very, very young country. We're barely over 200 years old. It's a country that has been built out of the blood, sweat, and tears of generations of people, but primarily immigrants. People who came from another country who wanted to come to this country to not just enjoy the fruits of the freedom and the liberty that are part of the fabric of this society, but also to be a part of building it up. Right? People who have come to this country not just to enjoy what we have, but also to help build what we have. And if it weren't for the immigrants that have come to this country, I know that everybody in this room agrees, because we all are children or grandchildren of immigrants, that we would not be the great nation that we are today. And one of the reasons why I think this is such a special resolution that we're presenting to the Reverend Pereira is because he exemplifies what I just now described. He's a man who came from Cuba, who was persecuted in Cuba, who left some of his family there to come to the United States of America, and not just, as I said, to enjoy the freedom that it offered, but also to help build our community. And we are very grateful and thankful to God that God helped him find South Texas as the place where he wanted to arrive, because he has, and he has made all the difference in the world in the communities that he's worked all across Cameron County. So, he's worked very hard with our kids. He's worked hard with the congregations. I visited his church, and it's a church where the spirit is very strong, but also the spirit of fellowship is also very strong, where people are close and they care for one another, and they take their Christian values to the level that God and Jesus Christ intended us to take them, which is we're out there to help our fellow brother and sister when they need it. And that's what they do in this church and all the churches that he's helped organize. So it's an honor for us to pass this resolution and to honor an outstanding citizen like Reverend Pereira. Let me read this. Consideration and adoption of a resolution recognizing the Reverend F. Feliberto Pereira for his outstanding citizenship, whereas Reverend Pereira is a longtime resident of Cameron County, having first come to the county more than 35 years ago as a political refugee from his native Cuba. And whereas while living in Cuba, Reverend Pereira joined many other brave and patriotic individuals in opposing communism and the dictatorship of Fidel Castro, for which he was imprisoned at hard labor for several years. And whereas after coming to Cameron County, Reverend Pereira began a ministry in San Benito, reopening a church that had been abandoned and increasing its membership to 400 persons before being called to serve as pastor of Iglesia Cristiana Ebenezer in Los Fresnos, where he continues to this day. And whereas in addition to his religious activities, Reverend Pereira is also deeply involved in public service, serving as executive director of Southwest Good Samaritan Ministry, an internationally recognized organization that provides assistance to those in need along the U.S.-Mexico border and to refugees from countries suffering from political and economic turmoil. Whereas Reverend Pereira is also noteworthy for his many friends and for his positive role as a husband and father, and he's most recognized for his outstanding patriotism as a United States citizen, which he became after living in this country for many years. And whereas for his outstanding citizenship and for his many other accomplishments and good works, Reverend F. Feliberto Pereira is hereby recognized. Now therefore be it resolved that Reverend F. Feliberto Pereira is hereby recognized for his outstanding citizenship, approved this 31st day of January 2006, unanimously passed by the Cameron County Commissioners Court. If you could say a few words to it. Yes. ¿En inglés o en español? Español, todos entienden español aquí.
Todos entienden español, pues mucho mejor para mí entonces. Okay. Well, it's a great honor and pleasure to be here this morning and to be recognized. My heart is with this nation that was receiving me. I never will forget that I was in prison. I was suffering so much because of my ideas and my religious ideas and political ideas. Coming to the United States, being rescued by the United States, I don't have word how to express my gratitude to this great nation of liberty and freedom. And with all my heart, I will be always doing whatever I have to do for keeping the freedom and liberty of this country. No tengo palabras como expresar mi gratitud a esta nación que ciertamente, cuando oprimido, en prisión, en campos de concentración por casi 5 años, pude escapar y llegar a este país que me recibió y me dio la bienvenida, país por el cual lucharé y siempre trataré de que la libertad sea algo que nunca, nunca deje de ser en este país. Es mi oración, que Dios les mantenga, que Dios les cuide, y a ustedes líderes de nuestro bonito y buen condado, no me cabe la menor duda de decirles que siempre estaré en oración por ustedes. Pero que Dios les bendiga, y mi congregación, mis hermanos, también representantes de otras congregaciones aquí en el día de hoy, pastores que están conmigo, sé que en la misma manera sentimos lo mismo. Dios bendiga Cameron County. Dios bendiga a cada uno de ustedes. Dios les guarde.
Thank you. Gracias.
It's not in the resolution, but his church and Reverend Pereira also has a retreat shelter for individuals up near the Bayview area, where they assist people who are in need of shelter in that community, and they maintain that through the church, through donations that they pick up, and they are doing God's work in a very big way, not just inside the confines of his little church. I told him he needs to build a bigger church. People don't fit there anymore. Judge Robles was there when I arrived. He was attending services in Los Fresnos at his church that he says he attends often. But it's a very community-oriented group of people that are members of that, and they're practicing their ministry not just inside the church but outside the church. So congratulations, all of y'all. Thank you. Do I have a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We also have another item on the agenda that I want to jump to quickly because we also have a lot of members of the community here, and that is in, where is it? Remy, the one on the lights?
That would be item number 10.
10, consideration and authorization to purchase and finance sport lights for the Santa Rosa Community Park from Musco Lighting through the TASB buy board. Javier? No, the other Javier.
Javier Mendez.
There's two Javier Mendez's here. One is the city manager for the city of Santa Rosa. You may recognize City Alderman Fuco Rickford and his wife, who's also a member of the school board, another member of the school board as well here. Thank you for being here. Yes, sir.
Judge, Commissioners, we received a bid from Musco Lighting. They're the ones who install the lighting over at Brown Road. And what we'd like to do is keep it the same so that we can use the same control link where we can turn on and off the lights from our office, or we call the number. We give them our password, and then they turn on the lights for special scheduling of games or so on. We had visited with the gentleman from Musco about 2.5 weeks ago, and he went out and measured and suggested where to put the lights. We're also going to, in addition to lighting the fields, we're going to have a light that will be shining towards the parking lot off that one pole. The price, I believe, is $135,000. They have their own financing, and what I was thinking, and I mentioned to the judge, was they could make it to where we make our first payment in October of next year, so it won't come out of this year's budget if we finance it through them. We did that with Browning Road as well. We financed it not through Musco, but I think it was GE Government or something like that, I think the name of it was. But if y'all would like to do that, if we order it, it'll take 4 weeks to get here, the poles, and it'll take 2 weeks to install.
So we'd have it in time for the tournaments?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suggesting, I'm sorry.
The amount is 132,150.
I don't have the number in front of
Yeah,
me.
it hasn't changed,
Okay, no, it's
right?
still.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
And you're suggesting moving the payment from June 15th to October 15th?
Yes, sir.
And then a second payment a few months after that?
Right.
And they're okay with that?
Right now, the lights at Browning Park are turned on manually, whoever's there, or
No.
you turn them on from your...
Right, we can get on the internet and log on, and we turn them on and off. We can set a schedule for the month or for 3 months, or as long as we need to. And they turn off at a certain time that whatever we schedule it. Or we can call in, give them their password, and we tell them what field we want to turn on, and they'll turn them on for us.
Okay, and if I'm just asking questions that I've never heard of. You could turn it on and off 30 miles away, So, if a
Launch
game...
missiles from further away.
Yeah, I know that, but we're not gonna launch any missiles here. If a game is not over and it is scheduled to be over at 10 o'clock and it's prolonged for whatever reason to 10:30, it'll turn off automatically.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right.
Even though they haven't finished the game.
But what they can do is they can call us, or we can give them.
Do you have numbers there that they can call and?
Yeah, we would hate to give them the number and the password, because then they would be turning on and off the car. The lights, but if they could,
It takes the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Playing a game and it's a very exciting game and then the lights turn off.
It's happened before.
Not good.
And what they do is they have our numbers, and they'll call us or my superintendent, and we can
To
turn.
make sure you put there,
Call
take
15 minutes
flashlight,
early.
take flashlight, because to see the numbers, you need a flashlight.
There was a couple of Houston Astro games where they wished that the lights would have gone out earlier.
They wanna make
He's
sure-
brought up an important point. I was going to talk to you about it afterwards, to make sure that the coordination is there for the lighting.
Do you have
Because
somebody
that
there?
is critical. We're joking about it, but it is important. And
I've been talking to not just the city officials, but the baseball officials for
The coaches.
several months about this, because they've been really interested in they have to send their kids to other cities to play, and it's very hard on the families. And this is a very, very, very sports-oriented town. It's a very, very family-oriented town. And so, sports are everything. In order to keep the kids involved along with the families, and it was a very difficult thing. This is our park. It's a county park. We recently built a t-ball park there, and we're going to build a Boys and Girls Club real soon there. We've already got the funding for it. And then we have a swimming pool there. We've built a playground. And this is just going to be an important addition to that community that is a community that's kind of isolated from the rest of Cameron County physically, so it's hard for them to get to different areas to be able to enjoy these kinds of activities that are so critical for the positive growth of the kids. So I think it's a good investment. Would you like to come up and say a couple of words, Coco, or anybody who's here, maybe members of the school board? Why don't y'all come up, all come up? So
Judge, can I make a few comments before they do? I just want to add that in the proposal is a 10-year warranty. Any lights that go out, they come and replace them, no cost to us. Anything goes out with the pole, they come in and repair it, no cost to us. That's for 10 years. Also, the control link, like what we have at Brown Road, is included in the cost. And the other thing is that like 3 years ago, when we were first looking at the lights, Judge, was I think it came out to like $85,000. Now it's $135,000. So the price of the material is going up. So you can see the
132.
130. I'm sorry.
Makes a
I'm
difference.
rounding up.
And I want to ask about the interest at 6.6%. Mark, is that comparable to what we can get if we were to just pay it off and finance it through Bank of
It's a
America?
little higher than we normally engage, but this is going to be, what, a 6-month note?
Well, it's
8-month note?
going to end up being
So it
longer
doesn't
than
matter.
that by the second payment.
Is there a payment on this?
Yes.
Well,
You're going to have this over 4 years?
no, we
No.
want to pay it off in October.
The whole thing?
roughly a
Yes.
6 or 8 month note, and so the anticipation of the entire 132 and change plus the 6 months, that's your contingent, so you're probably going to be somewhere around $137,000, $138,000 of your budget that you're going to have to allocate.
Well, you have the 50,000 that we got, so
And, yeah, and I'm not sure if we can do that, the 50,000 that we received from the
you got the check.
investors.
They handed us the check.
Who's that?
Laguna Madre Enhancement Group. The Laguna Madre Enhancement Group?
To fund the Santa Rosa?
Well, no,
No, just the lights.
We're going to use part of that money to pay for the lights.
So we're going to use part of that 50,000 to
No,
fund Santa Rosa Park?
all the 50,000.
And that's what we had, is in the proposal now, was to make that first payment of 50,000, and the balance would pay in October.
Well, when we set up the next year's budget for the parks, we carve out your debt service first, and then whatever's left is what you have for operations.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Come on up. Y'all don't want to come up?
Well, I wanted to comment that, it's important for the tournaments and everything else, but families, because I've been out there in the evenings, and I worry, because there's families there, and the kids don't want to leave, but it's dangerous without the lighting.
We built a real nice concession stand there, too.
Yes, in behalf of the city of Santa Rosa and Mayor Ruben Ochoa, and we have some school members here that are also, requesting for you all to approve something like this for our community. We want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here. One of the reasons that we are pushing for the lighting in this area in the park is because we have tournaments, but we have to do them till around 5 o'clock, and from then, what happens is that we've been asked to hold more tournaments because of we have about 18 teams that are participating, and most of them either come to Harlingen for the tournaments, or we have to go to Edinburgh, McAllen, and the facility that we have there is real nice. We just need the lighting, and we've been asked to hold more tournaments, because of how many people we have and the families that we carry, and it's very hard for most of them. Some of the volunteers are overwhelmed already, and they have to use their Suburbans, take everything. I mean, the president that we have right now, Arnulfo, it's amazing how he can fit his groceries in there, because most of the stuff that he has in there is all baseball equipment. And, bless his wife for everything. They really do, go out of their way. But, I figure that if we can come to you and ask you for lighting, would help not only the volunteers, but the families there in the community, help them out, and, it'll be a blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do y'all want to?
Well, I'm impressed that we have a young lady that will certainly benefit from that. And,
She's the future.
How's that?
She's the future. We're afraid to run against citizens.
That's good.
Would y'all like to say something?
First off, keep in mind that this is not just an investment in Santa Rosa. This is an investment in Cameron County. You know that our problems become your problems in the future. So the less kids that we have out there with any kinds of problems, well, the better for us, because whatever savings, we'll be able to use it elsewhere. So it's a worthwhile project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. All right.
Make a motion
Motion
that
by
it
Commissioner
be
Tamayo that
approved.
we approve it. Is there a second to that motion by Commissioner Wood? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, now we go back to, we have number 3. What does the great city of Brownsville have here today? Is there, are you looking at,
Historical abatement, tax
We
abatement.
have RMA members here for that.
Do we? Okay, let me get to number 3 real quick, and then we'll get to y'all next, okay? All right, presentation of a 120-day work plan for the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority. Mr. David Alex.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Commissioners. Happy Valentine's to you, Edna,
Thank you.
and all the ladies in the audience. It's a pleasure to give you we're going to give you a one-year summary of what your RMA has done in Cameron County over the last year. I'm going to let Pete help me on this, but before we go into this PowerPoint presentation, I want you to know that we've had monthly meetings with 100% participation from your appointees. We are now going into weekly meetings with 100% participation to get everything done. You can be proud that the people that you have appointed to the RMA are doing their job and doing it well. We're all in the boat. We're all rowing in the same direction. Every once in a while somebody slows down, but my job is to get them going again. But we are 100% behind the responsibilities that we have been dictated to us by the state of Texas and by this court. And I want to tell you that you can be proud of your appointees to the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority. And with me today is Michael Skeef and David Garza, two of your appointees. I understand that Victor Alvarez was supposed to be here today, and I would say that he's done a lot of praying over us, and it sure has helped an awful lot. So I will close my comments by just re-emphasizing that we still got a lot of work to do. But you've got a great you've got a great RMA for Cameron County, and we're leading the rest of the RMAs in the state of Texas as far as getting things done in such a short period of time. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be chairman of this group. Thank you.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Just have a real quick PowerPoint presentation. On September 30th of 2004, the Texas Highway Commission, or Texas Transportation Commission, unanimously approved the resolution and minute order creating the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority. In December of that same year, the Commissioners Court appointed the directors to the RMA, and then in the month of February of 2005, Governor Perry appointed David Alex as the chairman of the RMA. We had our very first meeting on the 25th of February, and in subsequent meetings we approved bylaws, procurement procedures, conflict of interest policies for consultants, disadvantaged business enterprise policy statements, and a drug and alcohol policy. Most recently, we have secured the services of Estrada Hinojosa, who serves as the financial advisor for the RMA. And a couple of weeks ago, the RMA unanimously selected H&TB as the general engineering consultant, and we are presently negotiating an agreement with them, and hopefully on Thursday of this week, we can have an approved agreement with them. From the onset, we have worked extremely close with the district office of the Texas Department of Transportation and FAR. We've identified 9 different pass-through toll projects that are located throughout the county. We're also able to negotiate resolutions from the county, from the city of Port Isabel and the town of South Padre Island, allowing the RMA to proceed with the Second Causeway project and allowing the RMA to go through the NEPA process and agreeing to abide by the professional recommendation that the consultants would make. We are presently working with TxDOT through some of their evergreen contracts, and the firm of PPS&J is conducting an environmental assessment on the West Loop project. As you all know, the West Loop project is a byproduct of the West Rail project. Through TxDOT contracts, we were also able to get the firm of C&M & Associates Cali Mayor to do level 2 toll feasibility analysis on the West Loop and on the Second Causeway at the island. The analysis for the West Loop will probably be completed in the next 60 days. The analysis on the Second Causeway is a lot more thorough and probably will take 9 to 12 months to undertake that task. We have several action items that in the next 3 to 4 months we should be able to complete, starting with a public involvement plan. a strategic plan, a toll equity grant application, and obviously complete the toll feasibility analysis on the two projects that I just mentioned. This map shows the different pass-through toll projects that we're working with TxDOT on. It shows the West Loop project, and it also shows the Second Causeway project. And please note that on the Causeway project, a location has not been determined. We're in the process of working with TxDOT to advance the planning that's been done on that project. The next slide is a schedule that we have
So notwithstanding the fact that you show a little causeway there, that's not where it's gonna go.
No, we've got to go back
I don't
to
wanna
the
have
slide.
It's being-
another San Pedro disaster that we had.
Location not determined. We've put together, and you know, we thought we had put together a great plan for the next 120 days. You know, I had gotten with Mario Jorge in trying to set some of those dates. And then last week, last Thursday, right before the RMA meeting, he said, you know what, some of those deadlines are going to change. And so what we planned on doing in 120 days, you know, we now have to do in 30 days. But, you know, we feel confident, you know, that we're going to meet the deadlines that TxDOT has imposed upon us. This first slide on the 120-day work plan shows the February 16 board meeting that we're going to have, and basically to approve the contract with HNTB and also hopefully approve work authorizations so that we can start working on the public involvement plan, the strategic plan, the toll equity grant application that I'll touch on in a little while. The next slide is the strategic plan, and during this process, we've already met with TxDOT, and obviously, since we've been working with them from the onset, a lot of the information on the projects, you know, we already have. You know, we've already unofficially been working on two different projects, the West Loop project and the Second Causeway project. We've got to go back to the board and officially, you know, select those projects. We've got different dates in there. Some of those dates are tentative, you know, some might change. The strategic plan, I think the bulk of it probably needs to be in place by the time we go to the Highway Commission with our toll equity grant application. But those are the target dates that we have, and we've put the RMA Board of Directors on notice that, you know, we probably will have to have weekly meetings from now through the first, second week in March. The next slide is actually a pretty important slide. This is a toll equity grant application. One of the decisions that the RMA Board of Directors has to make is whether we're going to submit one toll equity grant application for one project, or we submit one toll equity grant applications for two projects, which would be the West Loop and the Second Causeway, or whether we submit two independent toll equity grant applications, one for the West Loop and one for the Second Causeway. The toll equity grant application for the Second Causeway will include the request for grant money to conduct environmental impact statement so that we can move forward on that project. The reason that TxDOT came back and said that you have a March 1st deadline is because on the 27th of April, the Texas Transportation Commission is going to hold their meeting, their monthly meeting here in Brownsville. And we want to take the opportunity to get on the agenda for that meeting so that they can consider and act on our toll equity grant applications, whether it's one application for two projects or just one application or two separate independent applications. But that's a target date. We want to have them act on our request at that meeting, you know, taking advantage of that meetings here in Brownsville. Going back to the Second Causeway, as I mentioned, the grant that we're going to be requesting, probably $4 to $6 million, is to conduct the environmental impact statement. The grant that we would be requesting from TxDOT for the West Loop project would include three items. One is for the design and engineering of the West Loop. Number two is for the right-of-way acquisition. As you all know, the Union Pacific owns the right-of-way for about an 8-mile stretch. And then the third item would be to request grant money for the relocation of the rail. Normally, when a highway project is undertaken, there's relocation of housing or structures. In our case, on the West Loop project, our relocation is the rail line itself. So on the West Loop project, our request for grant monies would probably be in the range of $20 or $25 million. Now, a lot of that information, as I mentioned earlier, since we've been working with TxDOT through the last 12 months, a lot of that information we have available, and it's just a matter of putting it together and packaging it get all the information to come into place, and then have the RMA make the decision on how we're going to submit the request to TxDOT. As I mentioned, it's a pretty aggressive schedule, but we feel confident that we'll be able to meet that deadline, and hopefully come out of the April 27th meeting with grant monies for both projects so that we can proceed with both projects. The last slide that we have is the public involvement plan. This is also an important information that needs to be incorporated into the toll equity grant application. We probably will not have a plan in place before we submit the grant application on March the 1st, but the bulk of the information will be part of the plan. And I think that carries us through number 4. Number 5 is complete adoption of administrative rules. We really hadn't made that a priority. You know, we're talking about personnel policies, things of that nature. Since the RMA, doesn't have any staff, it hasn't been a priority. But those are things that will get done in the next couple of months. And then, obviously, very important task is to complete the toll feasibility analysis on both the West Loop and the Second Causeway project. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we've done the last 12 months and what we plan on doing the next 3 to 4 months. Again, the bulk of the work being done in the next 2 weeks, actually 2 to 3 weeks.
Pete, do you have the location for the workshops yet, or is that under study?
Those workshops with the RMA, we have been meeting. I think every meeting that we've held, it's been held at the old Levi's building, and I think that's where we're going to continue to call home.
So I think that's important for the public to be aware.
Yeah, any workshop, or actually any public meeting, we'll have to go through the process, which is advertising, follow the TxDOT rules, and we'll do that.
And the public are welcome to attend any of the meetings.
Yeah, we post all of our agendas.
Yeah. Well, it says public involvement, so obviously that includes the public. Yes. And I think that's a centrally located location. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the RMA members. I know, 2 of them are not here. It was a tremendous commitment that you made when you accepted to be on the board, and I couldn't be prouder. I've been at some of your meetings. You're definitely very business-oriented about your meetings. You're no-nonsense board, and I'm very, very impressed, David, with your leadership. Of course, I've worked with you before, so I was aware of what you could do. And I'm extremely proud of all the appointees, and of course, my appointee. I'm very happy to see your performance on that board. So, in my behalf, and I'm sure that my precinct expresses the same, we thank you for your civic-minded time that you're giving to this board.
I'd just like to comment that Chairman Alex's comments about y'all being busy certainly are accurate, and we do appreciate everything you've done, and as far along as you've gotten, I think it's tremendous that you've gotten this far along. I know that part of the work has been done through county staff with Pete Sepulveda and some of his help, which is essential for y'all until you do get your own staff. We're willing and glad to be able to have him involved with you in what you're doing. Hopefully he's doing what you need. I think it appears like he is, and as long as we can continue to work this way, we're all going to benefit. The citizens of the county are going to benefit, and I appreciate your work and your efforts very much. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I want to echo that. The board, Michael Keefe brings also a lot of experience to this board that's helped move it in the right direction. It is a strong board, but we have a very strong chairperson too, so it takes somebody like David Alex that doesn't take no for an answer and doesn't take, I'll be by there later for a response in terms of timing. He's got this thing rolling and, as they say, blowing and going. And I appreciate your leadership, David. And we knew that when the governor made that appointment, it was a wise appointment, given the background that you've had in terms of helping bring such important projects like Southwest Airlines to Harlingen and, you know, the Los Niños Bridge and so forth. So that kind of leadership is the kind of leadership that I think is going to make this board and this organization makes a big difference in Cameron County, in an area that's desperately needed, which is in transportation infrastructure development. So great work. I was talking, just by the way, that they're here, and I don't know if this is an RMA issue and we're not on the agenda, but I do want to mention it for you, for the future, is that we really do need to look at our Cameron County Airport, and there's a man back there that knows a lot about airports, and we need to tap on his experience and background, because we really need to re-examine where we're going in this airport. I don't know if this is going to be anything within the RMA, but I do know that we need to tap on those good resources that we have. And I just got a smile from my attorney, so.
And it's David Garza that he's referring to, sitting right over there. My
Everyone
appointee.
said their thing. I want to say my thing too.
You got a thing to say?
Yeah, I'm also very proud of the RMA. I mean, it's one of the first ones in the state, right?
Third one.
Third one in the state.
And the only one on the board.
I can only say that the way I look at the RMA is that they're all generals, you know, like General Patton, so they're all equal and they're very strong-minded people and they get things done and I don't have to worry about them. Do their work and go home.
You're making us look good.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it?
Can we go to number 15?
Yes.
Please, number 15,
After we
Here comes
do
the
all
good
the-
part.
After we do all the outlays, now money. Okay, well, consideration and approval of a loan from the International Bridge System to the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority.
Unfortunately, to do what we need to do in the next, 3-4 months, TxDOT does not provide any administrative funds or any grant funds to help the RMA get started, and that's, one of the reasons why we've been using county staff. But we do want to spend a little bit of money so that we can, get the grant money to do technical studies, do engineering, and advance, the projects we're working on. So the request that we have before you is for $250,000, and that will be used to develop the strategic plan, the public involvement plan, and the toll equity grant applications on the project that we mentioned previously.
And that's
And
going
it
to
will be reimbursed.
It'll be reimbursed from administrative funds.
Yeah, I think what we do, if the court approves it today, I'll sit down with legal, draft an agreement, that would be reasonable for both the county and for the RMA, and then bring that back, if not next week, the following week.
So moved, Judge.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo. Second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. You're welcome to stay the whole meeting, Pastor, if you want to. We'd love to have you here, but if y'all need to go, don't worry about, if you're going to disrupt them, because aquí
It's a long meeting.
it's a long meeting, so you can stay if you want to. We'd love to stay, but I know you're real busy and you got to go do God's work out there, so.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Adiós.
Que sigan rezando por nosotros.
Por los siglos y los siglos.
Okay, there's no one here from TxDOT, right? Okay, Sonny, which is yours? 14. Consideration and possible action regarding the Office of Rural Community Affairs award of $1 million for the 2005 Texas Community Development Program application for ADAP fund for the Nancy Soliceno Sierra Alto and La Feria Gardens as proposed by the City of La Feria, and approval of an interlocal authority. And we worked out an interlocal agreement yesterday, and you all have that already?
Yes.
We talked about it yesterday, and that was the first time they brought it to me. The
Do we
PD&M
just
is gonna-
approve the agreement, once you describe the
Subject to-
agreement, we'll describe the agreement and then we'll approve it subject to you finalizing it.
So
So they
moved.
need to move.
Right.
And you need to give me authority to sign it as well today, because we've got time constraints.
Then they need to take it back to the board, the CCRMA. They have to approve the document too. They are a separate entity.
No, we're talking about the La Feria one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, we're on
On the CCRMA, we'll have to approve documents to set up terms and conditions of the loan and look at the legal nature of loaning funds from one government to the other. And then on that issue,
That's why I'm going to
we met
bring it back
yesterday on
next
that.
week.
All right,
Okay.
so.
Move to approve.
On the La Feria,
Yeah, why don't you tell us what the terms are, so they'll know what.
the county is going to be, is considered the grantee of the monies that have been awarded. We are going to contract with the city of La Feria to actually implement the program, and they will do all the operation of the, bidding and negotiation and all that stuff with the contractors to get this built, and we will submit the drafts for the monies to be able to be paid out to.
And then we're going to
That's-
oversee the project.
and oversee the
monitor
project.
it,
We're going to
and we
oversee,
get
the
paid
PD&M will have
$8,000.
to oversee some, because there are some state requirements that have to be met.
And we're going to be compensated, I think, $8,000 for the oversight, I think is what the way it works. I think
And
it's a
so
good project.
legal completely reviewed it and everything.
Well, I'm working on the agreement because they just brought it to me yesterday, and I'm working with PD&M to
We
make
have-
sure we have all the
Okay.
state requirements. But if
We
you want
had a hard
to
time
agree
getting
it,
everybody together, so we just
Yeah.
barely met yesterday, and I think we did work out the details. La Feria has a long history of implementing these kind of projects. It's a government that works well, and Sonny's been there for a long, long time, so
Did John make a motion on
Yes, I
this?
did.
Second?
there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And the motion is to approve the agreement and authorize me to sign it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Sonny.
Thanks.
Thank you. And now, let me take up the great city of Brownsville. I thought you were bringing us a loaf of bread or something there, the sheriff.
For Valentine's Day.
He gets a little hungry at the executive session.
Good morning, Judge Hinojosa, Commissioners. My name is Joe Gavito. I'm the Heritage Officer for the City of Brownsville. The reason I'm here is to present to you the Heritage Plan for 2006. Just to give you a couple of, this is the 19th year of this Heritage Plan, and there is no changes from last year to this year. But I have Mr. Goodman to give you a little presentation. It shouldn't take more than 4 minutes.
Well, we thank you, of course, for all the support you've given us over the years. And everybody knows to focus on the fact that what it does is it helps foster the cause of historic preservation. But there's another positive that everybody misses because it's just not brought before your attention, and it's something that you wouldn't have a way to know about. So we'd like to give you some examples. We did a little research this year. The old jail, of course. What we're going to focus on is the effect that this program has on the neighboring buildings and on the tax rolls for everybody, for all the taxing entities. The owner spent over $1.2 million on that building. It, of course, has a tax exemption as a federal site. Well, when that became a success, they needed a little building in the back. Well, the little building in the back, which wasn't there before that, is valued at $110,000 by the appraisal district. Well, they needed a little more, so they built an office space with the confidence of the fact that they had the investment in this building and this building. So they built the building right across the street, directly in front of them. Now, that building was valued before they did the renovation on it, and it gets no tax exemption, mind you. It's not historic, obviously, it's new. It was valued by the county appraisal district at $78,000. What you're looking at now is valued by the appraisal district at $315,361. Obviously, an increase to all the taxing entities. Okay, now we go down the block. This was a vacant lot. I don't think the owners of that building that was just constructed, that's Butler Arturia, would have built that there had this not been there, this, and they've seen some progress and some preservation in the area, and certainly taken the time to do something that's got a historic vein to it and a nice architecture. That was an empty lot valued at $23,000 by the appraisal district. Obviously, it's just being finished, so it hasn't been valued yet, but I think we can all take a pretty good guess. We're looking at something that will be valued over several $100,000 when the appraisal district does it next year. Moving downtown, this building is on the corner of 12th and Adams. It was done because of a building that's not in this picture, the one that Tom Sweeney did, the Fernandez building directly across the street. The Morenos then fixed up their building. And then, of course, we have the Hotel Economico next door. Well, he saw this and Sweeney's, and he has no tax exemption. He's just started working on the building. So he's redone the entire ground floor. Hasn't gotten to the second floor yet, emptied that out. His plan is to make that into either small apartments or office space when he has enough income from the stores down below. Now, since he's done that, it was valued at $84,000. All he's done is clean these stores out and put on new fronts on them. That's gone from $84,479 to $111,665. He's not even halfway through with the building yet, but the appraisal district has their eyes open, as they should. No tax abatement, won't get a tax abatement, and he's well on his way to making an improvement downtown. This building is on the corner of 12th and Washington. They put in apartments upstairs, 10 apartments upstairs. This building does get an exemption. It's been restored about as best as you can restore that building to historic fabric. It was valued at $180,000. The apartments were put in. It's now valued at over $200,000. And they get a partial abatement because it's not a state or federal local site. But it's based now on a $20,000 bump up on their valuation. Well, the fellow down the corner says, that's a great idea, I'm going to put apartments. He's directly down the block on 11th in Washington. This building does not have any historic value to the Heritage Council. It was not granted any kind of abatement or possibility of abatement. He put in 4 apartments, basically because of what he thought looked good down the block. His went from $107,000 to $135,000 for putting in the apartments. So what we've got is a wonderful domino effect that keeps building on our tax base. The Rock Gomez house on Levy Street, well preserved, used as you may know, by an attorney. There was a very small, pretty rundown house next door. It's really kind of hard to see because of the vegetation and the picket fence. Young man bought it. All he's doing is completely renovating it under our aegis and under with the approval of the Heritage Council. It will not get a tax abatement. It just doesn't have this, again, the historic fabric. This does, of course, the Rock Gomez house. He bought this for $54,000. It was valued at $54,000. He plans on selling it for over 3 times that. We don't see any reason why he can't when the work is through. It won't have an abatement, and it's a direct influence from the one next door. I'm sure you all know the gem that Al Roser's business is in, and he lives in. Directly across the street was a building that you might recall as Aldana Travel. It didn't look like that a year ago. It didn't look like that 6 months ago. We were blessed with a gentleman who moved down here, retired from the Smithsonian Institute. And what he's building is an art gallery, which will be Brownsville's first downtown, and his own studio upstairs. It has many of the same features of the Roses building. It probably will apply, and he will apply for a 50% tax abatement probably a year from now when he's finished with the work, because we don't give him during partial. He paid, I'm glad he's not here because I hate doing this in front of him, because I always make him hold his ears when he does. He paid $55,000 for it. I'm sorry, it was valued at $55,000. He paid 3 times that for it. And when he's through with that work, we can all imagine what's going to get bumped up besides the purchase price and the improvements. And the way we can figure it, he's probably going to wind up paying at least 2 or 3 times more, even with the 50% abatement that he'll get, than that building was generating for all the taxing entities before he touched it. So, and this happens all around town, and sometimes in smaller increments, sometimes in larger. But these were a few examples that we thought it would be nice if we showed the taxing entities. It's not that you're just promoting historic preservation. You are increasing the values and the tax bases of properties all over Brownsville that are contributing to all the taxing entities that have granted this abatement.
Peter, on the last building you spoke of,
yes.
What was it originally used for? Wasn't it like a Western Union or a post office or something?
No, better yet, yes, exactly.
Post office.
The gentleman from the Smithsonian has wonderful resources for digging up all kinds of history on not only other things in Brownsville, but his own building. It turns out that this building was the Confederate post office for 2 years during the Civil War.
Wow.
And he's restored it to, it's going to be back to about the way it was when it was a Confederate post.
Where is that located?
That's located on 13th Street between Elizabeth and Levy, directly across the street from the gym, from Rose's building. And where he's expecting, renovations, as you all know, take longer than everybody hopes. He'd like to try and open it in about a month, probably, as an art
We know
gallery.
that.
And he himself is an artist and does free classes at the Fine Arts Museum, so he's contributing to the community in that way.
It's interesting to have someone who's retired from the Smithsonian, living in Washington, come down and find a building like that,
And
find
work
what
on
it's
it.
used for, and be willing to invest in it.
Yes, and he's
wonderful.
joined every committee that anybody wants him on. He's a real asset to the community here. We're thrilled to have him. So we certainly appreciate a positive outlook and a positive vote on our heritage plan, so we continue this kind of work. Because we think it not only benefits Brownsville, it obviously benefits the whole county.
Thank
And
you.
again, thank you, God bless you for the Dancy building.
Yeah, we'll be very glad when that's over.
And more changes in your neighborhood.
Okay, do our motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No, my abstention. On that one. My house is one of those houses that is in that category.
Was this the one that they were talking about right now?
No.
It was very close to it, right?
It's right a block away.
Yeah, I thought so. I was writing notes here, so, you know.
And I need an affidavit on that. All right.
Number 4.
Number 4. Presentation. I don't think we have anything here. Presentation by Department of Transportation. Oh, that is.
Yeah.
Here's the, I'm
David.
thinking about the Texas Department of Transportation on funding requests for projects throughout Cameron County.
Morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. You should have before you the requests that we filled out for the upcoming appropriation cycle. If there's any questions on those, let us know.
Would you maybe spend a little more time with Tom Hutchins on one of the items having to do with the BNCOM project?
The border?
I know he's on board with it, and y'all are on board with it, but maybe there's a little more communication and cooperation that needs to be put together.
Okay, I'll touch base with him.
The other thing, just for purposes of, making sure that the commissioners know where we're at, I want to schedule a little workshop next couple of weeks to the commissioners on an update on the West Rail and North Rail plan, okay? Because a lot's been happening, and we're kind of at a critical stage on that, and we want to make sure that y'all know. I don't know if you want to do it with or without John Hudson, but you use your discretion on that, but they do really need to know.
We can do that on February the 22nd. We're going to have Mario Medina, who's with the State Rail Plan in Austin. He's going to be down here touring the projects. So if you all want to have a briefing before then or at that point.
What day is that on? That's on a Wednesday.
22nd's a Wednesday.
Yes.
We can do a workshop.
We can come in with a workshop.
Yeah.
On that day?
The Tuesday before.
On Tuesday, yeah. Okay.
And we also submitted the letters. I think Remy might have those for your signature later on in the week.
Yeah, but do you have a specific deadline on those?
We've got March 3rd and March 6th deadlines. Yeah, we should be all right.
Yeah, we have also an item on the agenda on the improvements and enhancements of the levee system. That's a project that we're pushing. There was an article in the paper right now where the administration, there's a saying that goes, ya ven la tempestad no se hinca. The administration zeroed out the budget for improvements of levees.
Yep.
In their budget, and after Katrina, you would think that there would be a little, and particularly all the heat that they're getting on the FEMA response today, but there was a big disappointment expressed by Congressman Doggett as a result of that. But I think, we're in the same boat there as we have been for years on the issue of the realignment of the Intercoastal Canal. We get zeroed out on that every time. We've been zeroed out by the administration budget on the SCAP funds. So I don't think that means that and it's lost. That's part of our agenda that we're going to present to Congress for funding, and we have an item on the agenda to see if we can get some help on that.
We've actually got two items on that. We've got item number 13, and then the other item, item 13.
Which is the other item?
Is that 11 stormwater prevention plan?
No, sir. The resolution regarding the Rio Grande flood control
Flood
system.
control system.
That's 13, yeah.
That's 13.
And I've got a question on that.
Okay. So, any other discussion on item number 4? Do I hear a motion to approve the presentation or acknowledge the presentation?
Acknowledge.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. What other items that you have that are related to this?
Item number 13.
Consideration of approval resolution regarding the Rio Grande Flood Control System Rehabilitation Program.
We're working on a resolution to propose to IBWC from the Commissioners Court on the flood control project.
I do have one question on it. It's the last whereas, the 9th whereas on the resolution, before the now therefore. It says whereas 2.6 million is less than a quarter of 10 million. Actually, it's a little bit more than a quarter of 10 million. I just don't want it to go out inaccurate.
I think that we don't know from the math.
Whereas, it says whereas the 2.6 million is less than a quarter of 10 million. 2.6 is a little more than a quarter of 10 million.
Okay.
New math?
They'll understand that in Washington. All right, don't worry about it.
We'll fix that.
That's
They
all.
make those mistakes
Other than that,
themselves.
it's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Just don't give it to Shane.
What else? Is that the only item that you had on this issue?
And the other item was it's a consent item.
Item number 20.
And that's consideration possible finding of an exemption under VTCA Local Government Code Section 262.02484 for the competitive bidding requirements for a certain purchase by a county in reference to a contracting with a company for professional service for assistance in obtaining monies for the levy rehabilitation program and an authorization for direct negotiation for such service. What are you trying to do?
That would be to negotiate an agreement or contract with Those Logistics, Inc. to help us secure funding for the project.
Do you want a motion on
Do
13
you want a
first?
motion on that? Yeah.
I've seen some of their work, and they've been very successful in procuring money for this type of work in the past from Washington.
Okay, do I hear a motion on number 20?
So move.
Second? Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
Did you vote on 13?
No, we go back to 13.
vote on
We didn't vote on 13?
No, we didn't.
Do I hear a motion on 13 with a change proposed by
With-
Commissioner?
On the mathematical,
Yeah.
mathematical
Motion by
error.
Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by stating
Aye.
aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay,
Number 5.
number 5, budget amendment, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules. Any questions, concerns, comments? There a motion by to approve by Commissioner Benavides. There a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion?
Just with the additional sheet that I left on the counter and filed with the clerk.
Yes.
This doesn't indicate any new hires on this sheet you left here for Operation Linebacker.
It just allocates funds for salaries that there will be, I believe the sheriff's intention right now, because there's additional funding that's been appropriated, but we haven't received any documentation on that with this funding, there was 4 additional deputies. Is what he had told me that he was planning on bringing on.
Is he looking at 4 in addition to what's allocated, the slots allocated, or filling some?
No,
vacant
additional.
slots?
There would be 4 new slots, and then I think with the additional funds, there was going to be additional slots, I believe. I'm not sure. We haven't received anything on that.
Okay, all right. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Minutes, December 8th.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Tamayo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Matters approved. Claims.
There's an additional one claim listed. I can read it here. ledger. Payable to Bank of America, Leasing and Capital, check number 153791. This is out of Fund 63, or 630, and it's for a payment of $13,546.80.
That's the only addition?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Hold on just a second. I didn't see anything.
No.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Great.
8, consideration authorization to add computer equipment for the district attorney's office to the 2005-2006 equipment list.
Judge and Commissioners, when the original list was submitted to the court for approval, I didn't have, at that time, any requests from the district attorney's office. They had sent, I believe, some information to the computer center. They never sent it to me, so it was never placed on there. They forwarded it to me, and I conferred with Mr. Rudy Juarez based on the computers that they're asking to be replaced, that they do need to be replaced and should have been replaced. They were just not placed on the original list.
When did they send them to the computer center?
I don't have the date on that.
Javier, just for my own information, because I'm very interested in good communication. Give me an example on that instance. Was the computer department the one that failed to get it to you?
No.
Or should it be?
It should have been forwarded to me directly. Before the list is submitted to the court, I send out, excuse me, a memo and a copy of the form to the departments for them to list the items that they're going to be requesting that need to be replaced, or new items to be included on the equipment list to be submitted to the court for approval. And usually, I think it's like 2 to 3 weeks time between it's sent out and to where it's due back. And even at that, when the list is submitted, it's usually 2 different lists, because usually the priority is the vehicles, because there's a deadline to submit the orders, and then the other stuff is done after that. So some departments respond, some don't. I don't contact the departments to say, hey, are you sure you don't need anything this year? Because there are a lot of departments that are fine and don't submit anything to be requested for replacement. When they send it to me, it depends if it's computers. I used to get with Rudy Juarez, because he scans the network and checks the computers and to see which ones need to be replaced based on their memory and their processors and their hard drives. Or if they're broken, then of course they do need to be replaced. So at that point, they're placed on the agenda for consideration of the court. I hadn't received anything from the district attorney's office.
But they had sent it to the computer department.
One of I guess they have an individual who's
responsible
for the computers.
Well, most
had sent
likely, he
something.
thought it was logical that it would go through the computer department.
Possibly, yes.
You know, that's probably the case.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by state and I.
Aye.
And and related software, it's included within the product.
11, consideration selection of a firm to prepare a storm water prevention plan for Cameron County.
Judge, Commissioner, you should have a list. Excuse me. We got about 8 or 9 SOQs that responded to our RFQ. There was a committee of Javier Villarreal, Remy Garza, Ernesto Hinojosa, and Mike Forbes, and they shortlisted to 3 firms, the top firm being Tetsi. And so I guess the motion would be to select Tetsi as the firm and authorize staff to negotiate a contract.
I'll make the motion, Judge.
There's a second to that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
And if you don't negotiate what you want with Tetsi, you go to the
Go to the
second
next
one and the third one. And that's part of your motion, so we don't have to come back. Thank you.
Okay, 12, consideration approval of amending the salary schedules for planning, inspections, and engineering divisions of the Department of Transportation, creating position for an administrative assistant within the construction management division. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 14, consideration and possible action regarding the Office of Rural Community Affairs. Oh, we already did that.
We did that.
15.
We did
We already
that.
did that. Or consent items, items number 16 through,
All with the exception of 20.
Judge Nelson, can you pull out 21 so we can discuss it a little bit?
okay, we'll pull out 21. Considerate, you want to talk about it now? Consideration of possible approval of memorandum of understanding agreement between City of Brownsville Urban System. Agreement with the City of Brownsville Urban System?
This is the one where they made a presentation on the bus system. I wanted to just clarify or maybe get confirmation from the court. On the monies, it was $21,177. Did you agree to fund that for 1 year or to become a partnership and possibly fund in the future for new routes that might be, I think, off of 281 and some other areas? Because in the memorandum of understanding, it kind of implies that the county will become a partner and will be assisting in the future with more
other
funds.
routes.
Of other routes.
And with more funds, right?
Well, no, I think we agreed only on this route.
Okay.
That's what I understood.
Future budgets.
Which is recommended that the
that
others be looked into, but it wasn't.
Okay. Also, and the 21,177 is okay with everybody, right?
Well, it's
And
not
we need a
okay,
funding
but-
source.
But it provides much-needed service to Cameron Park, so.
Well, it provides a double direction service in that entire area, as opposed to one way, having people wait over an hour.
At the present time, I do have funds that I can move in order to allocate for this within contingencies and general administration due to the fact that I guess the positions that were to be created initially within the deputy constables and the sheriffs didn't start October 1st. They actually started at a much later date. And there was also some funds that I had set aside for that had been, I guess, approved tentatively. The imaging project within the sheriff's department actually came in less than what was anticipated, so I do have enough funds in order to transfer or allocate to transfer this to the bus system.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Judge, number 35 it has to be subject to text dot approval. And then 40K, take that out.
Did you say 40K?
All right, there's a motion to approve, is there a motion to approve items number 16 through 39, excluding the two items that we've already approved separately, and item 40, excluding item 40 number K, 20K.
And adding the additional...
Subject to text dot approval.
On
Subject to text dot
35.
approval on 35. Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. For discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo. Is there a second to that motion? Second. By Commissioner Benavides. For discussion, all those in favor signify by stating aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Items number we're now in executive session under VTCA Government Code Section 551.071, 1A, B, and 2, 551.0712, 551.072, 551.071A, 551.6.01A and 2, and 551.087. Motion by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 42A, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Cameron County versus Faulkner USA, formerly known as Landmark. approval of settlement agreement. Motion to table item number 42A.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 42B, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning issues regarding the Cameron County Detention Centers and the Cameron County Sheriff's Administration Building. Motion to acknowledge report of County Judge.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 42C, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court concerning issues relating to possible acquisition of real property for the Dancy Building renovation project. Motion to acknowledge report of Frank Bejarano.
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 42D, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning property at the San Benito Annex. Motion to acknowledge report of Sepulveda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 42E, possible action on discussion and authorization to initiate legal litigation against Brown Vincent Associates. Motion to acknowledge report of counsel.
Like a Valentine present?
Yeah.
And for counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session. Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 42F, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Vicenta Cantu, Felix R. Munoz, Ruth Weaver, and Diamantina Alvarado versus Cameron County and Tony Zaguirre Jr. Civil action number B03096 in the United States District Court for the discussion of status of case and authority for Cameron County Legal Division to take over the legal representation of Cameron County from Willette and Guerra. Motion to acknowledge report of counsel and to authorize Cameron County Legal Division to take over the legal representation of Cameron County.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 42G, possible action on confer with Commissioner Court regarding real property concerning acquisition of land for the West Rail project. Motion to acknowledge report of Pete Sepulveda. Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 42H, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of land for proposed park in the community of La Paloma Precinct 4 area. Motion to acknowledge report of Pete Sepulveda.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 42I, possible action regarding deliberation regarding the sale of real property for FM 511 expansion project. Motion to acknowledge report of Pete Sepulveda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 42J, possible action confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning the solid waste disposal sitting ordinance, Cameron County 2005 Order 1A. Motion to acknowledge report of counsel.
And authority to hire Gosselin to do further representation.
Okay, that's the motion. There's a motion by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 42K, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning sublease agreement with Laguna Madre Enhancement Group regarding property at Isla Blanca Park. We didn't even talk about the motion.
Table.
Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Motion to adjourn.
We're now, do I have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye. Opposed, motion carries. I need to talk to you briefly. Did you?